Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Highly Desirable Woman's Podcast. I'm Adrienne Everheart, your host. Today is episode 2. We are covering the movie 50 Shades of Grey.
Put away your Kleenex, ladies, and clean up your mascara. It's time for the Highly Desirable Woman's Podcast with your host and relationship coach extraordinaire, Adrienne Everheart, with dating and relationship advice made so simple, you'll wonder why you haven't tried these techniques sooner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Adrienne Everheart. Welcome to episode 2. My guest host today is Rogue from Rogue Relationships. Hi, Rogue.
Hi, Adrienne.
So good to be with you again today. We actually launched our first podcast where we covered the movie Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts and Richard Gere. And what we are really having a fun time doing is taking aspects of film or television shows or whatever it may be, and we're just finding and showing where you can draw from this feminine energy or masculine energy. I think we did a lot of really good examples in Pretty Woman.
Yes, definitely. I thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and so we'll have the link to that as well if you want to check that out. But today, we're going to be talking about the super racy.
Yes, 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey. Super sensual, racy. I'm just going to open up with this. I'm not a fan of this movie. There are women out there I know who love this movie and love the whole concept. Any man hitting a woman is not okay in my book. And unless it's just like completely so absolutely consensual. And then any woman who needs to get hit, I can't understand it. What about you, Rogue? I mean, maybe this is something you and your husband do all the time.
No. So I actually love the movie. I loved it from the time it came out. But I mean, that part I'm not crazy about. I guess the part that totally intrigues me is just the intoxicating like draw that she has towards him. And, I mean, I don't know, just that deep desire that he has for her. I think that's what really lures women into that, is seeing like how much he like wants her.
Yeah, we see a man in hot pursuit, and she's triggering him like crazy. Like a big thing I cover in this is this lip bite she does all throughout the movie, and it's just like this trigger. And about a week or so ago, I did a YouTube video about, ways to really drive your guy wild with feminine touch. And I'm a lip biter and I'm not aware of it, but it's definitely something that if I want to have that moment of feminine power, again, we're using it for good, not evil. I always warn everybody, it's something you can kind of pepper in. Do you have any like little trigger like that with your husband? Is there like something you do to him that he's just like, that's the on switch for him?
Yeah, definitely. He's all about the booty. So if I can do anything that kind of, showcases that, or when I'm walking by him or whatever, like that definitely lures him in.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So do you like accidentally like bump your butt into his and
or accidentally drop something, sticking the booty out. Yeah. And of course he knows that I'm doing that, but then that makes it even better. So
oh, it's so funny. I love it. So let's get started. We're covering 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey is a movie that was released in 2015 by Focus Feature. It stars Jamie Dornan as Christian Grey, and Anastasia is played by Dakota Johnson. If I could sum up this movie in one sentence, it would be hurt people hurt people. Have you ever heard that before?
Yes.
Hurt people hurt people. And my only big flaw with this movie is that Christian Grey, this is not a spoiler. If you've seen the movie, it is a spoiler. He admits that he was an older woman's sub, because it said there's a dominant and then there's I guess it's submissive.
Yeah.
And he was a woman submissive since the time he was like something like 15 years old, which is kind of gross.
Yeah.
Whoever this lady is. But now he's a dominant. And for everything I know about how SMBD, whatever relationships work, is that you're either submissive or dominant. Like, we have that in us naturally. Even if you're not like spanking each other, one of you is submissive and one of you is more dominant in the bedroom. There are some people who can switch, but you're primarily dominant and you are occasionally submissive. You see, you are primarily submissive and occasionally dominant. Now, a good example of this is a lot of men like to be on top, right? During lovemaking.
Mm-hmm.
But occasionally they'll say, hey, you climb on top, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they just want a better view or whatever it is they want to I mean, the key to a happy, healthy keeping, women, we want closeness, security. Men want sexual variety. And I think if a lot of women could just remember that forever in your relationship with your husband, whatever it is, men love sexual variety. So, Rogue, are you a submissive or a dominant?
Submissive.
Aww.
Right?
But does your husband like you to climb on top once in a while?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Mine does too, but then he still takes control of the scene. And I'm like, why am I even up here?
Yeah.
You're still driving the car. Why am I even? But anyway, I get it. Does your guy do that? Does he kind of still take control?
Oh, yeah. I think that's just a man thing. That's the masculine energy that we talk about, we teach women. I mean, I think that's the normal, natural role for the man to naturally want to be in control. So
I think you are right. And I think this movie proves that. However, the actress in this, Dakota Johnson, her character, Anna or Anastasia, she really tests him on boundaries. And I am so, so proud of her in this film. Because she just doesn't go, oh, here's everything you want. And clearly this guy, Christian Grey, he's used to it. So the movie opens with Christian Grey taking a jog through the city and getting dressed for work. It's sort of like a montage. You know, he's got a car service. He has this very professional image. He's got all these ties and all these dress shirts. And meanwhile, they cut to Anna, and she's getting into her little Volkswagen Beetle. This is not a girl of opulence. This is not a girl who has like a lot of money or anything like that. And the thing I do love about that scene is that so often women, we are so impressed by a man who has a lot of money and has this high status of things and stuff, but that doesn't always equal he's a good guy. Right?
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it's very alluring. We want to be part of that world, but what good does it do you if you're not getting the love, the cuddles, the attention, and the time with that person? So we cut to Anna. She has to actually go interview Christian Grey. He has this big corporation. He's going to be doing the commencement speech at her university. She's going to be graduating, I guess, this semester. And her roommate was originally going to do the interview, but she's sick. And her roommate's kind of asking her, like, do you have this? Do you have that? And Anna says, look, I got a 4.0. I can figure it out. I love that moment she says that, because it's just like, I'm smart. I got this, right? She's an English literature major, and she's, doing this for her friend Kate. So the very first meeting between Christian Grey and Anastasia is she walks into this very prestigious looking office, and all of the women look like supermodels, don't they?
Yeah, I noticed that.
They're like all decked out in like couture and these custom made pieces. And they just really look like they could have walked in off the runway. And here she comes in, and the first thing she does is she sort of trips and falls into the room where he's at. What would you call that moment that happened to her right from the get-go?
You mean when she just like was clumsy and like fell into the room, like made a grand entrance and was kind of just herself and wasn't putting on a show? She just kind of let herself be seen, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the moment he started to maybe fall in love with her, is that here is a girl, she's not putting on airs. She's being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
this is just really who she is. And it makes me think of the first date I ever went on with Jeff. We were sitting at this little table in a little tiny bar restaurant, and he just gestures with his hand. And you know how they bring you those giant glasses of water? He gestures with his hand. He hits the glass of water so hard, it hits the wall.
Oh my gosh.
And drips down. And so we're just laughing at that. And then I open the menu, I'm laughing. We're having a good time. We're getting right through the awkward moments.
Yeah.
And I open the menu, and you know how they have the tri-folding menus?
Uh-huh.
Well, I somehow opened the inside of the menu, and the other side of the menu popped up and hit me in my face and knocked my glasses off.
Oh my gosh.
So we were just like comedy of errors on our very first date, but it really did break the ice in a positive way, because men fall in love with us not for this polished version.
Perfect image. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What would you call that men fall in love with us about?
I mean, they just want our true, authentic self. And I think we have a hard time not putting on this perfect image. Like you said, she said, I have a 4.0, like I'm good. Like we think that being this smart, perfect, well put together person is what they're looking for, when really they just want the raw, real you. They want to see you be clumsy and not perfect. And, because if you can accept all of those things about yourself, then they know that you're going to accept their flaws as well, because we've all got them.
Totally. That's actually what men fall in love with us about. They don't go, oh, you know what? You're a great businesswoman, and I've never seen you with a hair out of, place. That's why men like to, we talked about, they like to watch us sleep at night. And, when we're just in our pajamas and our hair's a mess, I swear it never fails. If I go out of the house and I do nothing to myself, I get all sorts of guys just checking me out. I'm like, what the heck is this? But this is why we say in dating, don't get all dolled up. Don't get all super dressed up. Kind of just come as you are. Like, be authentically who you are. Because early on in dating, we're kind of telling someone, this is who I want you to believe I am.
Yes.
What about your first date with your husband?
Oh my gosh. Well, our situation is quite different. I think, as you know, I got married really, really young. So we didn't really do the typical dating stuff. So I don't really even have a story like that to even share with you.
So how did you guys first meet?
So we met in school. I mean, I was 9 years old. He was 11. We went to the same church and stuff together. So we did all that little boy-girl stuff through all those years. And then because we went to a very strict church in school, we weren't allowed to date. So I actually didn't really technically date him until after we got married.
Wow.
Wow, right?
So may I ask what religion this is?
It was just a Pentecostal church, non-denominational.
And I'm guessing you're still not part of this church.
No, I don't go there anymore. But it was actually my
guess.
Huh?
It's just a wild guess.
Yeah, definitely. I'm way different than what I was back then. But I do think a lot of that was something I wanted to mention on here too. Was just the image of sex that we have in our culture today. I guess trying to hide those parts of ourselves and not really expressing our sexuality. And I feel like religion actually puts a damper on that. And so I would say that can be a stumbling block for women expressing that.
Absolutely. And, I've had lots of clients come to me. I've had clients that are Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah.
Clients and they said, we're not supposed to date. And I'm like, how the heck do you find out if you want to marry someone then? How does that work? But again, I believe this is the masculine energy mindset world. Mm-hmm. That world is changing. We are changing into a feminine energy mindset. More women than ever are college educated. More women are small business owners. Mm-hmm. Women are we actually have everything. We have more women on this earth than men. We've got everything required right now to switch over to the feminine energy mindset. And I think it's starting to show, even with things like our podcast and what we are teaching women.
Yeah.
So moving on, they give a very phallic shot of the building that Christian Grey works out of. And after Anna stumbles into the door, he quickly tells her, I only have 10 minutes for my interview. And, he's kind of gruff with her. One time when I was in web sales, I went to this real estate office, And I showed up for a 9 o'clock meeting and, to promote what I was selling. I know it's a little off topic, but, I must have been like maybe 22, 23. And the head guy says, we only have 10 minutes, go. So I start talking, and it's very clear that I'm going to be able to really help them. But I'm looking at the clock. I'm a nervous wreck because a man has just told me 10 minutes. Whereas part of me should have just said, okay, those are words. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. You guys can ask me to leave. But I just didn't have that self-esteem. And so I was crunching it in as fast as I can. And they started asking me questions. I said, well, guys, my 10 minutes is up. I got to go. And the guy rolled his eyes at me and he goes, well, I was just busting your chops. And I was like, okay. But I remember that moment of like, you have 10 minutes, and you got to make a sale in 10 minutes. So what does this translate into? Why do you think guys do stuff like that?
I think they like to show their dominance and control right from the get-go. Like, I'm in control of this. I'm going to lay the law down. You got 10 minutes. Let's go. And so you're like, and I think a lot of women get very intimidated by that too, kind of like you did a little bit. Like, you were like, okay, like, I better hurry up and get this out. Like, you were already kind of nervous because he kind of like said that to you.
Yeah. So I think that I think you're right on. It's a little bit of a power struggle. I'm letting you know I'm the alpha right out of the gate. So women, when men do crap like this, just do whatever you want to do. Do whatever you want to do. They say, I want to go to this restaurant and I want to eat this food and this is where we're going. If you don't want to go there, you say, I'm not going to go. You go, okay, I'm not going to go. And you just have your boundaries. It's not that you're being impossible, and definitely you want to be flexible to, you don't want to be the one with the power struggle. But at the same time, a man will say things and they will quickly go back on it because it's a moment of a power exchange. I'm going to go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, like little tests like that, happen all the time. And I think once you become aware that that's all it is just a little tiny like test to see how you're going to react, you approach the situation a lot differently because you're conscious of the fact that, okay, he's saying this because he wants to have the control and he's trying to let me know. And so then you're more likely to kind of loosen up, lighten up, laugh it off, or, you know what I mean? Just kind of relax, knowing that this is just a thing that they do. It's not really anything serious.
Oh, I love that. Feminine energy is playful, light.
Yes.
Okay, so I am going to play a clip from the movie. This is where the dynamic begins to change. And we talk about being vulnerable, how important that is with feminine energy. And there is a moment where she's been vulnerable with him and it changes from a power struggle to where this man begins to peel back the layers and show you a little bit of vulnerability. Now, remember, this is why this isn't the only reason, but it is a big reason a man wants to claim us and marry us is that they see this vulnerable, I'm going to say helpless, but it's not totally helpless, but they see this vulnerable, authentic side of us. And when they start sharing more of that authentic side, you got them. You got them. So I'm going to play a clip from that.
You're unmarried. Oh, you were adopted at age 4.
It's a matter of public record.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Do you have an actual question, Miss Steele?
Yeah, sorry. Are you gay? It's written here. I'm just...
No, Anastasia. I'm not gay.
I apologize. Mr. Gray, Kate can be a little...
Intrusive?
Curious?
What about you? Why don't you ask me something that you want to know?
Earlier you said that there are some people who know you well. Why do I get the feeling that that is not true?
So you can see in this conversation that he's starting to ask questions about her. He's starting to reveal a little bit more of him. That's when you're really making that connection with a guy's heart. When he starts to open up. And later on, he even asked her, why'd you choose English literature? Was it Thomas Hardy or was it Jane Austen? She says it's Thomas R. Hardy. It totally surprises him. He figured her for a Jane Austen woman, which I would have been insulted by that. I mean, Jane Austen's great, but you get the difference. Tom Hardy versus, we have a writer like that versus Jane Austen. And it's really a lot of, it's very, very different. And Jane Austen is kind of like a girl falls in love and finds a man and wants to be with him, but it's impossible because it's 18th century England. And, you know what I'm saying here?
Yeah, this whole scene, like, I feel like she was becoming very intuitive to like a darker, deeper side of him that she kind of was able to like pull out. And I feel like for some women that becomes intriguing to them. And I think I noticed just in this scene alone, she kind of starts getting kind of roped into trying to like figure him out, which is completely masculine. You're like trying to figure this guy out. Like he's got this deep, dark side to himself. And so she's kind of noticing that as he's talking about, little things about his past. And like you said, he did become a little bit vulnerable and he was uncomfortable with that.
Yeah,
but we definitely were meeting on a completely deeper, darker kind of level there for a little bit.
Absolutely. And she is in boy energy. She's there to do an interview, there to get information out of him. She is not I think he thought originally that she was maybe a journalism major, but she's not. She's an English major. So sure enough, while Anna is wrapping up her interview with Christian Grey, he asked her about possibly being an intern for his company.
What are your plans after you graduate?
I'm just trying to get through finals right now.
And then?
And then I was planning on moving here to Seattle with Kate.
We offer an excellent internship program.
I don't think I'd fit in here. Look at me.
I am.
Ooh, look at me. What do you think she meant when she said, look at me and I wouldn't fit in here? What do you think that's about?
I mean, she just noticed that he likes perfect things, polished, perfect women is what she's assuming. And so she's like, I'm not that girl. I'm not going to fit in here. But I also think that that's one of the things that he liked about her is that she doesn't try to fit in. She is true to herself and she's not trying to put on a fake front or image. And so that was part of the attraction on his side.
Yeah. And again, she's vulnerable.
Yeah.
Vulnerable. So Anna returns home. She gets a couple of interview questions out of Christian Grey. She calls him Mr. Grey when she says goodbye to him. Apparently that was also a turn on for him. And she comes home to her girlfriend and her roommate there. And she says he's hot, but he's not that type of human. And again, we're talking about that high quality man, that GQ guy. We look at him and we go, ooh, I want that. I always tell everybody, get ready to do all your children's birthday parties by yourself. Get ready to be home alone late at night. If you're with that sort of man who is a workaholic, a really high level business guy, business owner, they will not have a lot of time to spend with you.
Yeah.
So one doesn't really mean that that's what you're going to get.
Not only that, they have to spend a lot of time on themselves. They're usually, sometimes some of them can be a little bit more self-centered because they have to play this part, look the part. So not only are they spending a lot of time in their business life, but in their own personal selves as well. So, I mean, you're not getting a lot of their time.
That's right. You're not getting a lot of attention from them because they are very much worried about themselves. Then we see that Anna has kind of like a guy that's interested in her. They're maybe just dating. He just gives her a pet kiss on the cheek. And you can tell that she's getting a little invested in Christian Grey because they have all these scenes of her kind of daydreaming. And that's kind of like what women do. We get invested in a guy. We start thinking about him. And one of the things that, Rogue and I both preach is don't think about a man unless he's right in front of you.
Yeah, so true. I mean, wasting so much energy and time fantasizing and thinking about a man instead of putting that energy into yourself where it's going to be more useful, and keeping those thoughts and energy off of the man, which is what pushes him away.
Yeah, you're just staying focused on you. Now, I want to tell you, this is easier said than done.
Oh, 100% easier said than done.
But if you can catch yourself, doing this and daydreaming and focus back on your life and what you're really trying to accomplish and do. Yesterday in my Facebook group, I had a post that said, what would you be thinking about if you weren't thinking about the man, your relationship, where things are going, or the breakup? What would you be thinking about? And women had the most amazing answers to what they'd be doing with their time. And a lot of them even said, this is a big wake-up call for me, Adrienne. I'm really spending all of this energy thinking about this man who's not even in front of me and just trying to figure it out instead of all these, things I could do with my life, their career, working out, spending more time with their children, reading, books that they really want to read. So then Christian Grey shows up at Anna's work. She works at a little hardware store. I think that's very masculine energy. Years and years ago, I actually worked for HQ, which is like a Lowe's or a home. And I loved working there. I loved being around tools and fixing things. I think it's so cute. She works at a hardware store. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, she's definitely around a lot of men being in that store. So she's definitely engaging with a lot of masculine energy.
Sure. Rogue, you just gave everybody a great idea.
Right? Hang out at Lowe's and Home Depot.
Hang out in the lumber section. There's a lot of guys there. So he wants to buy some supplies, and he is buying all this like really sketch stuff. Like she even asked him, like, are you a serial killer? One of the things he buys is zip ties, those little plastic ties that, sometimes police officers use them as handcuffs. And I want to tell you, I'm so neurotic and scared of those things. I have several packs of zip ties that, if we just need them, but I keep them out in the shed. They're not in the house. I treat them like they're like a weapon or something.
That's funny.
Are you that way with anything? Do like household objects sometimes? Because I just look at something and I'm like, this could be used as a weapon against me. And it just makes me totally uncomfortable. I wouldn't want to be around a gun either, for that matter.
Yeah, I guess, I grew up with my dad. He was a big time hunter, fisher, trapper, all that stuff. So I was around all that so much as a kid that I guess none of that actually scares me at all.
It doesn't scare you. Okay. See, I look at it like, how could someone use that against me? And I'm sure that has, a lot to do with upbringing. Nobody's done that to me, I have to say.
No, but you're a little bit on guard about stuff, maybe parents warned you or whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little hyper vigilant. Exactly. But love her boy energy. She works at this place. A male coworker then shows up right behind her in that scene. And I thought it was so interesting that he was a little bit taller than Christian Grey, but Christian Grey kind of, stood up taller, and he got already a little protective of a woman. And I know this is a movie, and I know they're just demonstrating this, but this is really what guys do.
Yeah. Yeah, so he was wanting her a little bit more so because he knew that this other guy may be in the picture or maybe wanting her.
Yeah, they get very controlling a little bit.
Possessive, kind of trying to claim his territory kind of thing.
Yeah. So at some point in time they kind of get together a little bit. There seems to be a connection between them. Even though they've had very brief interaction, the relationship is kind of unfolding, and then they have this conversation.
She's an incurable romantic.
You?
Am I a romantic? Well, I study English Lit, so I kind of have to be. I thought the photo shoot went well, right? Kate seems to be really happy.
I'm sorry, I can't.
What?
I'll walk you out.
Do you have a girlfriend? Is that it?
I don't do the girlfriend thing.
What is that even?
I'm not the man for you. You should steer clear of me. I have to let you go.
So here they are. It's their first coffee date. She's opening up about her mom. Her mom's been married 4 times. She's a hopeless romantic. She's talking about how she's a bit of a romantic too. She's English, lit, and definitely Thomas Hardy is one of the more romanticism, I guess, writers. He was a poet. And something's happening to this guy. His heart is cracking open. And then all of a sudden he's like shutting down. He's reached his level, his emotional threshold. And I tell women about this. Men reach this emotional threshold and they really just shut down. They can't give you any more. And she accepts it. She's like, oh, okay, well, you must have a girlfriend. You must have this. He goes, nope. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to accept about a man. He doesn't have a girlfriend. There is no one else. He's just reached some level and he can't do this. So she, sure enough, goes, just pulls away from him, and she has somehow wiggled into his heart. And, he starts to, continue to think about her or, have feelings for her because her and her friends are out at a club having a good time, dancing. She's drinking maybe a little bit too much. And what does she do, Rogue?
She calls him on the phone.
What's the technical term for that?
I don't know. I'm not sure what you're looking for.
She drunk dials him.
Oh, okay. Yes, she was drunk and she calls him, starts spewing all kinds of things out. And, I think, she was already a little bit confused by his behavior. Like we said, he actually invited her to go to that breakfast. He took control, invited her there. There was even a part in that scene where, she says she's not that hungry and he says, eat. He's taking control and really dominating the whole situation. And so it can be very confusing to us women when, like you said, when you hit that threshold of becoming too intimate and he starts pulling back. And then she runs, but then she's thinking about it, and then she reaches out to him.
Yeah. Well, see, he had sent her a bunch of first edition books.
Yes, he had sent her, which is confusing. You know what I mean? Because he basically says, I can't do this, and he goes away. And then she gets these books, and it's okay, what's actually happening here? And I think that's what can be so confusing for women is when it's like that hot and cold man. It's like he comes on strong, invites her for breakfast. Then he says, I can't do this. Then he sends her books. And we're on this roller coaster of, whatever they're doing here.
What's happening to a man in this? So my theory is the man, again, he's hitting an emotional threshold. He gets nervous. Something happens in him. I don't know what it is because I don't get inside a guy's head. Something happens, and we call it rubber banding because they get real close and they slowly stretch away, and then they pop back and they're sending you books from the 1800s that are first editions. So anyway, he comes in, she's so funny when she drunk dials him to pretty much say thank you for the gifts. She also says, well, you hit the hell on the Ned, and kind of makes fun of him. And then she says, bye. She hangs up first. She says goodbye first. So she's actually doing a lot of things right. She is
letting her emotions get the best of her, I think, but when you're drunk, I think that actually happens a lot easier, don't you think? Things fester and you're more likely to do things that you wouldn't normally say or do.
I think you're right. I think you're really right. Her inhibitions weren't there. But instead of being like, oh, hey, I want to talk and I want to be there with you, this girl is brazen. And this really ignites the chase in a man. She's kind of making fun of him, repeating some of the things he said. And all it does is make him want to chase her even more. Now, I'm not saying go do this on purpose. But when you are authentically, truly yourself, these are really the results you get. I always encourage being warm, not drunk dialing anybody, but you get the picture. So Christian shows up in this like badass car, and he picks her up and
coming to rescue her because she's drunk, and he's going to save the day. He wants to be the hero, which all men want to be for a woman.
Oh, yes. Thank God for that. Do some of the work for me. Just let me do what I want to do. And lo and behold, what does she do? But she pukes. She pukes. And, you know, he deals with it. And again, she's just so vulnerable. And this is really, again, this is the type of stuff that men fall for. So he's rescued her. He has her back at his place. They apparently slept in the same bed. She wakes up and is like, oh my gosh, did we do anything? He's like, no. But he says to her, he said, if you were mine and you did that, you wouldn't be able to sit down for a week. And when I first heard him say that, I was like, sit down? You wouldn't be able to sit down because of penetration? Or... That was my hope. But no, he meant spanking her, which is like, okay.
I'd like to say I do love that scene, though, because he cared for her with such, like a gentleman, with complete, like, I mean, he went and he bought her clothes, brought her breakfast. You know, they didn't even have sex or anything. He didn't cross those boundaries. He was a complete gentleman. And I think the way he cared for her is exactly what women, I mean, we love that. We love when a man, you know, does those little things for us.
This is a man nurturing. So I get asked almost every week, aren't we nurturers? Aren't we supposed to nurture as women? And I'm like, well, yes, because you can carry a child. So it's in your genetic information that you want to care for something that is weaker or without a voice or smaller than you. That is a trigger. Men are not weaker and smaller without a voice. You're perceiving them that way, but really they are the nurturers. They really do want to take care of us. So flip that dynamic around in your mind. Now, he actually does tell her that she looks really beautiful when she gets dressed, and she can't even accept that compliment. She instead says, well, Taylor has good taste, and Taylor is his driver who had gone out and bought her some clothes. So I thought that was kind of interesting. She was, you know, not confident enough to accept and just receive.
Mm-hmm.
So the next scene, we find Anna. She had to go to work. She left his hotel room after he fed her breakfast and had given her some designer clothes to wear. And she goes to work and finishes her day, her commitment. And Taylor, the driver, shows up at the hardware store and takes her to meet Mr. Gray and takes her to the top of a building where there's a helicopter waiting, no less. And I was really proud of her for not blowing off work. I think a lot of girls would blow off work and just want to hang out with a guy all day. But this girl held to her commitment. Another really moment I was impressed with was guys really do test us. They want to see how we respond to things. They want to see pleasure on our face. They want to see happiness. And just in that helicopter ride, he's just watching her face. He is not looking at the scenery. He's really watching her face. Do you remember that part?
Mm-hmm. They really just want to make us happy, honestly. I mean, men really love to make a woman happy and, like you said, see it and feel it, that it's genuine and true and that she really was enjoying herself was, I mean, so great for him just to experience that, seeing her like that. Was a turn on for him.
It's a turn on. And so often we think, well, sex is where I've got to do this, or I've got to make him all his favorite food or whatever it may be. It's really not true. It's your happiness over the littlest things. My husband, some mornings, he will surprise me with a coffee from Starbucks, you know, not just making coffee, go and get me. And I receive it with so much happiness, or any little thing he does for me. Ladies, look for those little tiny moments to show a man how happy you are instead of criticizing or telling him what's wrong or how your day's gone wrong. Focus on these really beautiful moments.
Yeah, there's a story actually I share with some of my clients where I really started using feeling messages a lot. And early on when I first started learning this stuff, and I remember just looking for little things that he was doing. And I remember he took out the trash. And when he came in, I was like, oh my gosh, I just feel so taken care of when you take out the trash. And he said that he's like, that's the first time he said I actually genuinely remember you like appreciating something that I was doing. And he's like, all I wanted to do was find all of the trash in the house and take it out. He said he thought to himself, where's more trash? Where can I find more trash to take out? Because he just wanted to please me. Like he wanted to do something that, you know, that made me happy. And so I just think that's so funny. It's a silly little example, but it just goes to show that the littlest things go such a long way with them.
It really does. They feel so good about themselves when they receive that positive stroke from us. So ladies, I always tell everybody, challenge yourself for 2 weeks. 2 weeks, only say positive things to your man. Get in the habit. Now, don't get me wrong. There may be a big problem. Something may happen and you need to put on your boy pants and deal with it, but come at him with the opportunity for him to solve it. Try it for 2 weeks, only positive. He says, how's your day? Don't go, well, I was late and then somebody cut me off in traffic and then this happened. Try just being positive and expressing happiness. First of all, it will give you a really positive shift in your body. And you'll start to experience, anything that you really dwell on, focus on, you're going to attract more of it to your life. But you'll notice your guy lights up. We sometimes feel like we're, 5-year-olds when we're speaking from feeling statements, but they love it. That's what they want to connect with. They don't want to connect with a businesswoman or someone who's griping all the time. This past weekend, I was not in the best mood. It was getting around that time of the month. And Jeff was acting a little grumpy. And I was just like, I'm just curious how you feel. I notice your mood. He goes, well, you try sitting in the car and having somebody complain every 5 minutes about what's wrong.
Oh my gosh. Yes. The time of the month. Like I'm telling you, like I actually forewarn my husband now, which I used to not do. And now I'm so aware of like what I'm feeling and what's going on in my body. And so I just like to give him a heads up, and I always have a day where I get really emotional. Like I'm crying about something. It can be the littlest thing. And that's my first clue right there. I'm like, okay, in a day or two, it's about to happen. And so I just let him know. I'm like, and he's like, okay, that makes sense. Like, and then at least he's prepared for it. And I tell him, I'm like, just be a little more gentle with me, a little more patient. And he knows that, and then he is too, because I've already forewarned him and told him. And so he is more patient and understanding when I have those outbursts or moments of crazy emotions.
Yeah, but we got to tell him. And, so when Jeff goes, well, what, you were with somebody every 5 minutes for bringing up something negative. I was like, has it really been every 5 minutes? Have you been timing me? Of course he wasn't. It was an exaggeration.
Keeping record.
See, I'm more like that. I'm like, okay, I'm going to let him vent for 3 minutes. I look at a clock, So, moving on, after this amazing helicopter ride where she is just so much happiness is being expressed from her through giggles and laughs and smiles. So much of this can be just not verbal, but authentic. He gets her back to his place and he puts some papers in front of her and they begin to have a conversation.
What's this?
It's a non-disclosure agreement. It means that you cannot discuss anything about us with anyone. I'm afraid my lawyer insists on it.
I'd never talk to anyone about us anyway. Are you gonna make love to me now?
Two things. First, I don't make love. I f*** hard.
And the second thing?
Come. The playroom.
Like your Xbox and stuff?
It's important that you know you can leave at any time.
Why? What's in there?
I meant what I said. The helicopter's on standby to take you whenever you want to go.
Could you just open the door?
So what do you think of that, Rogue? I don't make love. I beep.
Well, I mean, I think it goes back to just what we've known from the beginning, that he has issues with getting close to a woman. So I feel like that's part of that toxic part of him where, I mean, yeah, it's a turn on. Like, I mean, to even hear a guy say that, like, I think, oh my gosh, like that's such a turn on. But at the same time, like, I feel like he's also setting like a boundary, like, listen, we're not going to get close. I'm not going to make love to you. Like, this is how I do it. This is how it's going to be going forward. And it's like, okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is a turn on that a guy wants to do that, you know, but at the same time, like, we also want to be treated, we want to make love too. We want that heart and soul connection with a man.
Mm-hmm. So true. And again, I felt like it was like, oh, here's my power play moment, little girl. So after he shows her this agreement, she kind of looks it over. He then takes her into this room where there's all these like straps and whips and handcuffs and all this stuff that I would have been running out the door. But she sticks around and he says, well, if you please me, I'll reward you. And now I'm a big believer in the terms and conditions of any sort of relationship. So I love that there is a legal contract involved in this movie. Because number one, Anna is not quick to sign this thing. She is negotiating the terms and agreements. And I just wanted to be, okay, if you please me, I reward you, meaning if you partake in all this crazy messed up stuff I got in this room, which I really hope I'm not offending anybody who's really into this stuff. But to me, it is like a huge turnoff. But I do like what he said about the latter of, I don't make love, I beep, and I beep hard. That definitely has a time and a place. I could go for that. But if you please me, I reward you. So what does that mean? Does that mean I get a car? Does that mean I get clothes? Does that mean I get trips? Does that mean how often do I get to be done this too hard? You know what I'm saying? Like, what does it mean? Because so often a guy goes, well, I want to be committed to you. And we're like, okay, well, what the hell does it mean? Does it mean you're going to see each other 2 times a week, 3 times a week? Are you going to take trips? Are you going to meet everybody's friends?
Well, yeah. And I also feel like it's a trade-off. It's like, you do this because I get satisfaction out of doing this, but in exchange, I'm going to give you this, this, and this, but I'm not going to give you me. And I think that's the part that sucks for women, is it's like, we want the man, we want his heart and soul, we want that body connection, and he's obviously offering her a trade-off, like, give me your body to do all of these things to, and in exchange, I'm going to give you a car and clothes. And it's like, what woman really wants that? Like, yeah, we might accept those things and we're appreciative of those things, but in the end, like, I want you. If I'm not going to have you, then I don't want all your crap that you're going to try to get me.
Well, I'll take the car and a couple pairs of shoes and then get out. Anyway, you're absolutely right. So this is how, early in the podcast, I mentioned that women, we want that warmth, connection, commitment, safety, security. Men are looking for sexual variety. Every time, no man will say, well, I really want just someone to cuddle up with. And if he does, I can about tell you there's something wrong with him downstairs. There's something going on. Men like sexual variety in a relationship. They do like to cuddle and they do like to do those things. When they adapt or switch tracks to, they are living to make us happy. And that's the process of what I call really tying up a man's heart. You're switching tracks from being seen as a sexual creature and someone just to be a companion to them, to someone that they really live to protect. Does your husband live to protect you and your children?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly, like I said, that's the difference. I mean, going from just being like, an object, a thing that they want to entertain and play with on occasion, or someone that they actually have this deep desire to protect and love and provide for. And it's a whole nother level, a whole nother side of a man that you get. And that's what we want.
Yeah. So he talks a little bit about these terms and conditions, thank goodness. And he says, Friday through Sunday, I want you to move in and you stay with me. And they're just discussing these particulars. She reveals to him that she's a virgin, and he seems okay with that. And then she's biting her lip. It's driving him crazy again. So they end up in the bed. Big surprise. I don't think they ended up in that playroom just yet. But she loses her virginity to this man. And I don't know about you, Rogue. I did not see him put on a condom. And all I could think is like, oh my goodness, she might hit a payday here if he puts a baby up in there, And
yeah.
And I'm watching this. I know, and that's a terrible thought, but I'm watching this with Jeff, and Jeff says he's probably the type of guy that doesn't want kids and has had a vasectomy. And I thought that was just so hilarious because it's such a male thought, right?
Yeah.
He's already finding the guy a loophole to get at any alimony. Now they have this wonderful night of passionate lovemaking. I don't know, sex. I'm not sure. She loses her virginity. And then they have this really special bathtub scene. I love baths. Rogue, are you a bath girl?
On occasion, I will do a bath. Not very often. But yeah, I do love taking a bath. Just taking the time to do that, yes.
Have you ever had a guy give you a bath?
Yes.
It's nice, isn't it?
It is nice, yeah.
I've never had my boobs washed so much in my life as when a guy gives me a bath. It's definitely a good way to get your boobs washed. But more than that, Jeff will make me a bath sometimes, and he'll go in there and sit and talk with me for a little bit. And it's really a little sweet little bit of time to spend together. I think that he just, again, he understands how much pleasure I get from it. And I think he just loves seeing me in this like luscious state of foam and water.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And almost like making you relax. You know what I mean? Because I feel like men love taking care of us. They love seeing us in a soft, feminine position, like taking a bath. Like there's nothing you can do except for lay there and relax. And I think it kind of pushes us into that feminine energy, quicker.
Yeah, I'm in a bathtub. I don't want to talk business. I don't want to
exactly
what to do. Yeah, you're absolutely right with that. So after the bath, they go back to bedroom for round 2, which is what men do. They get the first one. You get the first one out of the way. You try them. You see if this is what you want to do. And they go in for number 2, sex number 2. And as with most men, they want commitment very early on. And so in that moment, he's about to make love to her. And he tells her, I want you to be mine. A lot of guys want commitment early on. A lot of women go right for it. Again, they don't work out the terms and conditions, but not Anna.
Is that breaking the rules?
Speaking of which,
I haven't made up my mind yet. You're not staying?
I told you, I don't sleep with anyone.
Can we negotiate?
So I love this. She's saying, can we negotiate? This is what I tell everyone to do when a guy says, I want to be with you. I want to be with just you. I'm taking down my dating profile. You say to him, well, oh my goodness, I'm flattered. So right out of the gate, this guy is asking for commitment. He wants her to be his. And she's saying, can we negotiate?
Take out your pencil and your paper. It's time for some scripting notes, so you'll say the perfect words to him in the most perfect way.
So a good script to use when a man is asking for commitment early on. Sometimes a guy says, well, I took down my dating profile, or I'm just dating you and I only want to see you. You have 1 or 2 ways that this could go. You could say, okay, and to yourself, make a mental note. I'm going to give this guy 3 months. And then after the 3-month point, I'm going to check in with him and say, where do you see us going? The past 3 months have felt amazing. If he's showing up for dates, if he's taking you out, if he's being a good guy to you, if he's still representing after 3 months, ask this. Now, the other option is when a guy says, I want to be committed to you, I'm only dating you, and you're kind of like, I'm not sure, I like him, but I'm not sure. Or maybe you're totally sure, you're gaga for him. You can still say to this man, I feel so flattered that you want to be, us just be together, but I've been a girlfriend before, and I really want to be a wife one day. I don't want to put any pressure on you or the relationship. I want to keep my options open until there's an offer on the table. You say something like that. And again, in my book, 500 Ways to Talk to a Man, I go into so much detail about this tricky point, because a lot of women listening to this podcast and who coach with Rogue and I, they're in their late 30s, their 40s, their 50s. A lot of people are in marriage number 2 or number 3. And men will very quickly want to commit, keep you as a girlfriend, and then 2-3 months down the road, things change. So I really encourage you date him at least 2 to 3 months. Make sure he's showing up. Make sure he's keeping his word. And he'll probably be mad that you are keeping your options open and you're continuing to go on coffee dates with men. Now, a lot of times women think dating, they think, oh, you're having these deep, intimate dating relationships with people. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about keeping your options open. You don't get hyper-focused, over-invested in just this one man and the outcome, because just doing that can push a guy away. Right, Rogue?
Totally agree with what you're saying.
So again, Christian Grey is renegotiating this contract with Anna, and she really wants to hold on to her free will here. She mentions the red room of pain, and he says it's really more about pleasure, which is kind of the essence of Crumbs, in my opinion, because he's saying, you're going to get it my way. This is what I want to do in this situation. And she's just not interested in it. And she won't get to sleep with him in the same bed. The contract says that she can't touch him, things like this. It's totally about exclusivity. It's about certain food she eats. She can't take drugs. She calls him sir. And like I said, no touching him without permission. And here's what happens when they review that contract.
I would like to fuck you into the middle of next week.
You're not fighting fair.
I never have.
I'll review all these changes and try to arrive at a decision.
You want to leave?
Yes.
But your body tells me something different. Your legs, for instance. The way you're pressing your thighs together under the table. And the change in your breathing. And in your complexion.
My complexion?
You're flushed.
That could just be the wine.
It's the adrenaline.
Let's say I did stay. What would happen?
First, I would help you out of that little dress of yours.
Yes.
And I would be pleased to discover that you were naked underneath.
Really?
Then I would bend you over.
Right here?
Yes.
On this table?
Yes.
Thank you for the meeting, Mr. Gray.
This guy is trying so hardcore to seduce her into staying and getting his way. And I am so proud of Anna, because ultimately she sticks to her guns. Even though he's saying all this seductive stuff to her, she sticks to her guns and she gets out of there. And if it would have been me, I would have been like, I need some money to hire my own attorney to go over this contract. I'm not using your attorney, but she did get a new car, even though she really seemed to love her little Beetle. He gets her this new car for her graduation. And he made some changes to the contract that they, again, negotiated. So ladies, take from this that you can negotiate before you commit to a man. This is when you want to negotiate how often the two of you take a vacation together, how often you guys see each other each week, even things like who pays for dinner every night. Because if you've been dating a man for a while, he's been paying for most of the dates. And then at some point, you negotiate something else if he brings it up. Usually a lot of guys do. But negotiation is a big thing you want to do before you commit. Once you commit and you're like, okay, I'm all in, then you can renegotiate at some point. It's not going to go as good as the first time you do this.
Yeah, I absolutely love that scene because I feel like he, like you said, was trying to seduce her so hardcore. And I think that's just consistently the thing that is such a turn on to him that's different with her than the other women that he had obviously been with, is that she has these strong boundaries of staying true to herself and what she wants and not just going along with what he wants, even though he has all this money and power. She's not really impressed by it in the sense that she's going to change her values and what she wants for herself. Mm-hmm. And when she stands up and walks out, I wanted to just like clap for her because it's like she carried such confidence and self-control over herself. In that moment, that would be really hard to turn a man down that's really trying to like persuade and be all like sensual and, pointing out that her body was turned on and wanting him, and he could sense that. But yet, even though she was turned on, she was able to still contain control over the situation in herself and be like, nope, right. I'm choosing me. I'm choosing what's best for me. And until I know I'm going to get what I want, I'm not going to just buy into all this crap.
Yeah, or all these offers.
Yeah.
I always tell women, as a powerful, dynamite, feminine energy woman, you must be in control of yourself and know your boundaries. Know your boundaries before you go over to his house. Now, yes. Don't get me wrong. We've all been in situations where you're like, I should have shaved. Should have known this was going to happen. I know myself. Don't let yourself get so love-starved. Don't let yourself get so hungry for attention from a man that you are going to
compromise.
Exactly.
What you want for yourself. Yeah.
Compromise your boundaries. Know your boundaries.
Exactly. And I think because she had such strong boundaries and control over herself, and I think he respected that about her, he starts to kind of like give in to things that he originally would not have allowed himself to give into with other women. I think it's even maybe in the next scene when he takes a photo with her, and he was never seen in any photos with women, and the fact that he did that and showcased himself with her in public was kind of like a big deal.
Oh, I loved that part. It definitely, and this is the type of thing, this is when you're really getting into a guy's heart.
Yep, she's gotten him hooked. I mean, she has more control over him than he has over her. And I think that's the part that drives him crazy, is this deep desire that he has for her. And I think that is something that all women are capable of having. And it's really having control over yourself and what you want for yourself that lures this man into wanting you, desiring you so much.
Absolutely. And you are powerful and in control of yourself, but you're still vulnerable. So this is what we say. We want you to be vulnerable and soft on the outside, but like a mountain on the inside. That scene was such a great example of that. She was like solid, like a rock on the inside, but on the outside, she was playing with him. She's like, oh, really? Oh, would I? And you're just, it's words. And when you can learn to be playful with a man's words and still know your boundaries, this really entices the hunt. And again, we're not doing this on purpose to make a man hunt us. This was her boundary.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I could have resisted all of that talk, depending on where I was in my life. But don't ever try to get yourself too love-starved where you're so vulnerable. So there's a scene where Anna talks to her mom. She's, again, her mom's been married like 4 times. most of my clients, occasionally I'll have a client where their parents have been together forever, but most of my clients come to me with, definitely their parents did not have the best relationship or the best marriage. Mm-hmm. And we discover something about Anna where a lot of her wounded child is at. And we talk about wounded child because wounded child is the one that often triggers you to pursue a man that isn't good for you, that isn't healthy for you, because wounded child is still trying to figure things out and solve things that happened to her back when she was like 5 or 6, or even younger. And I always tell everyone, can a 5 or 6-year-old wounded child in you really have a relationship with a grown adult man? Is it really going to work? So if you've ever wondered, why does this same thing keep happening to me? I'm attracted to the same type of man. It's because a child ego state inside of you is really running the relationship or making decisions for you. Mm-hmm. We learn that she doesn't have a birth father. She has a birth father, but he went away. So no dad. And then she has a stepdad who she really, really loves. And then her mom is kind of flaky. So we can see where hot and cold has been something that's happened in her life a lot. Mm-hmm. And where she's really hungry for someone who's going to stick around. But at the same time, what is she attracted to herself? What is she pulled to herself? A man that wants to give her what he wants to give her and have it his way. So I love that there's a sweet little scene where they dance and he is leading. I love that. I was for sure feeling like he was falling in love with her.
Yeah, I just could see how much he adored her, and you could see how carefree she was in that moment. And I think that's part of what draws men to us, is just that vulnerable, carefree spirit, just being ourselves and not thinking about anything, just being there in the moment. And that's what we could see in that scene.
Yeah. And I think in that scene, she was barefoot. Am I just dreaming that? But I think she might have been.
No, I think she was. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always talk about being that barefoot running in the park girl. And that's it, ladies. That is, kick off your shoes. You do not need to be this perfect, well put together, head to toe girl. Just be who you are. That's really a sweet point. So somewhere over dinner, she mentions to Christian that she's going to go visit her mom in Georgia. And he did not know. And he immediately has a reaction. He's like, when were you planning on telling me? And she's like, well, I'm telling you now. I love this, because to me, this is the key to a happy, healthy, long-lasting relationship with men, is you're not laying all your cards on the table.
Yes. I love exactly what you're saying. I find that even with my relation with my husband, still, we were married 18 years, and it's like, they don't have to know every single little thing. Like, living your life to the fullest and not feeling like you have to explain in detail every little thing that you're doing step by step through your day. It's the spontaneous things, in conversation, they find out, oh, like you did this today or you did that. And it's like, that's what keeps things interesting, not knowing every little detail of your life.
So true. You're not laying everything on the table. I love it when at night my husband's like, well, what should we have to dinner? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to yoga tonight.
Yes. Love that. So perfect. Yeah, because you're just keeping things fresh and in the moment, and they're kind of guessing and, what you're going to be doing and wondering about what you're doing and what's going on. It's like, you still have a life. You're not basing your life around them and what they're doing.
So Anna reveals to Christian that she is going to go see her mom for a couple of days. He has an instant change in character.
When are you going to tell me about Georgia?
What? You have no right to be mad.
Yeah, but I am mad. Palm twitchingly mad.
Ow!
You're mine. All mine. You understand?
Christian, you are so confusing.
Anna.
What do you want? What do you want?
I want you.
I'm trying, Christian.
I know you are.
Why can't we sleep in the same bed? Why won't you let me touch you? Why does it have to be like this?
If you just signed the contract, you wouldn't have to think
Why do
about
you care so much about the contract, Christian? Don't you like me the way I am?
Of course I do.
And why are you trying to change me?
I'm not.
I need more. I want more.
Hearts and flowers? That's not something I know. Anna, please. It's you that's changing me.
Let me touch you.
I think that's such a powerful scene. He's wanting her to just be this person for him. She's saying, no, I'm not doing this. I want what I want. So Christian begins to open up and he reveals his past. His mom was addicted to crack. She was a prostitute. And this is happening all while they're in bed together. And he has his back turned to her. I thought it was a really interesting moment. That's a little bit like what men do. They reveal something to us, but they kind of do it in their way with their back turned to us. And this is how men begin to show that vulnerability. So even though he's this tough bulldog on the outside, and he has this contract and he has all these things, he's beginning to show some of himself to her.
This was like a huge pivotal moment in the movie. And I feel like some women never get to actually see why men, this toxic part of men that is there, but sometimes we never even get to see why they're that way. And the fact that they actually show us, because he actually tells her. But I mean, to expect that a man is actually going to do that, it may never happen. You know what I mean? Not all men are going to be the type of man that's going to actually reveal to you why they have the behaviors that they have, you know? Maybe they're just not ready to heal that part of themselves. But yeah, I definitely you could tell that I feel, my personal opinion, that part of the reason that he even likes to punish women and have complete control and dominate them is because at some point in his childhood, he did not have control over his emotions, and the emotions that he had wrapped around his mother not being there for him and the things that happened when he was younger. I just feel like that's part of the reason why he even has the issue that he has.
For sure. For sure.
Not that it's an excuse, because like you said in the beginning, there's never an excuse to want to hit a woman or want to engage in that type of a relationship if that's not something that you're into or whatever. But I definitely think that that's what he was revealing here. That's why he does have this side of him that he,
Yeah, this messed up side that he loves something. He somehow got the lines crossed between pleasure and intimacy somehow means I also do this other thing. And I want to tell you, all relationships, in my opinion, have a little bit of this. All relationships have what I call animal training, which is what he's doing. He's showing her, he's showing her pleasure. And he's giving her this pleasure, but then he's putting in some pain, and he's taking her, high and low, and it's reward and then getting it his way, and then reward and getting it his way. I think a lot of marriages, a lot of relationships, we're constantly training our partners, and our partners are constantly training us for us to get what we want the way we want it. And there's so much of that involved. And he's just doing it in really the most basic of pure forms with, outright punishment and pleasure. If you give him what he wants, he will give you pleasure. If you don't, he's going to punish you. I mean, this is in all of our relationships, and it doesn't even have to have anything to do with sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I see what you're saying. He just takes it more to a severe level. Of finding a way to get what he wants.
And then, surprise, he shows up in Georgia at her mom's house, completely uninvited. And, she ditches her mom for a couple of hours to go take this solo flight. And here they are again, rolling in this plane in the sky. And he's totally just loving her expressions, her happiness. they even exit the plane and she says, oh, this was so amazing. I thought you don't do romance. Why are you fighting this? And boom, guess what? Business calls. He's got to run. Right?
As soon as it gets to that level, as soon as she notices him doing something that he would normally not do, and then he recognizes it as well, like, look what you're making me do, or look what you're causing me to do, because there's a part of him that he just cannot resist her, and she makes him act in a way that he would normally not act, which is why he's so attracted and intoxicated by her, is because how is this woman making me do these things that I have vowed not to do with women?
It's known as a mental challenge. And that's what feminine energy women do. We are not doormats. We're not like, okay, here I have no boundaries. When you become that mental challenge and that man has to work to win you and woo you, and we're not talking a bunch of fake, planned, you got to think it up as you go type of stuff. You really stick to your boundaries. You stick to your authentic, truly who you are self. You're not just saying yes to everything. You're not challenging avoiding challenging him and things like this.
Yeah. And I think part of the work that we do with women is the fact that sometimes we don't even know what those boundaries are. I think you probably know that working with women, it's like, I don't even know what my boundaries are. I'm not even sure who I am and what I even want. And a lot of the start of our work with coaching women is getting them to discover what those boundaries are, starting from like ground zero, figuring this out, and then being able, once you can recognize them and what you truly want, then it becomes so easy to put those into place with a man.
Absolutely. We have to have these scenarios in our head already played out. I remember leaving for college and, getting to college and running into homeless people or vagrants asking me for money and having no idea how to deal with it, having no game plan, not knowing what to say, being nice. And I can't remember if I mentioned this in the other podcast, but I actually felt so inclined to be nice to this homeless man. I actually invited him back to my house, let him mow my grass for me.
Oh no.
And the next day, my lawnmower was missing. My stereo was missing off my back porch. Yeah, he came and robbed me. And I'm gonna pretty much assume it's him. But you see, this is what I'm talking about. We are nice instead of figuring out what we really feel. And nice is how women get raped, hurt, dumped on, abused, become doormats, is by being nice.
Yep, and just being naive. I mean, at that age too, especially. But I feel like some of us have been, kind of sheltered, I guess, or depending on if you've only been in like maybe one relationship that didn't work out and you go straight into another one, like, the world has changed, times have changed, and just being naive to what is okay, what's not okay. Sometimes it's hard for us to judge what we should or shouldn't do.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple of women just, you hear all sorts of stories, this business we are in. There were a couple of women that, they went to have, they were intimate with a guy, and I've had 3 of these, and they actually had anal sex with the man because they were too shy to tell him that he was in the wrong spot.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean,
well, I'm sure he knew he was in the wrong spot.
maybe not, I don't know, but this is what I'm talking about. We get so afraid of letting that man down or losing him or saying the wrong thing. Yep. You lose yourself. When you lose yourself, I can guarantee you will lose that man unless he is just a user and a taker, and then you're going to get involved in one of those.
Yep.
So boundaries, ladies, if you have sons, daughters, talk to them about all these scenarios in life that they could, get involved with anybody. Have it with yourself. If you're going on a date with a guy, be prepared to answer with a boundary about how you feel. I don't like talking about exes. I don't want to hear about anybody's ex. And sure enough, Christian opens up that he's going to have dinner with someone and that it is this other woman. It is his ex. And again, he says, we're just friends. We're just friends. I would have to draw a line there. And I cannot be with a man who is friends with his ex. I do not want my man to go have lunch with his ex. I don't care how mature it is. They're okay with it. There's nothing there. I feel uncomfortable, and it's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I would totally agree with that. Yeah, there's but there are situations I've dealt with also with clients where that's an issue. And I'm like, again, if that doesn't feel good, doesn't feel right to you, that's just another one of those situations where we let things slide because we're afraid of losing the man. And so you don't have that boundary in place. And so he's going to keep doing those things because you keep allowing it. It's never been set in stone that this doesn't work for me. It doesn't feel good to me. So you're completely bypassing your feelings in those moments, because I can guarantee that the first time it happened or got brought up, you felt something on the inside, but you ignored it and pushed it down.
That's right. You got mad. You got jealous. You got whatever it was. But instead of speaking up about yourself, you're like, I don't want to make him mad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to lose him. You're going to lose him. You're going to lose him because one day you're going to have a breaking point because he keeps taking his secretary out for lunch and you've always been okay with it because you're mature, you're cool, you're hip, you understand, you trust him. And when Jeff first came to me, him and his ex-partner, they had a big farm and he had planned on still going up there and helping her with some of the heavy lifting. And I was like, I feel really sorry that you're in this situation, but that will not work for me. And there was a woman that he had dated briefly and he was hoping he could still go have lunch with her some days. And I was like, no. He's like, well, she's a friend. You think she's a friend. You think she's a friend. Meanwhile, I do have male friends and he says he's okay with it. And there are people that have been in my life since I was 17, 18.
Uh-huh.
Or I have an older male friend who's an artist. And I think my husband likes when I go hang out with him because he's a good listener. And we talk about having a lot of men in your life, a lot of men and friends, because one man can't possibly do it all for you.
Yes.
You're going to have a guy that you can talk to about certain things. And my artist friend, we can talk about emotional things. We can talk about art together. And I kind of get that out of me. So when I come home, I can just have a good time with my husband. I can just be in my marriage.
Yeah. Yep. I agree with that for sure.
Do you have any guy friends?
Yeah, I do. No one that I have as like an ex or anything like that, because I'm pretty sure my husband wouldn't be okay with that. But I do have male friends that I love to be around. And just like you said, I'm able to get some of those other needs fulfilled from other men that, just in another way, I guess.
Doesn't put all the pressure on your husband.
Yes, exactly. Because it's for him to be everything and for me to, like you said, just like talk and talk and talk and be the only guy that I'm venting to or talking to can be a lot. And so, recently I just went to a wedding and I went with a guy friend of mine, and it was awesome. It was great, So
that's wonderful. I love that. So often I talk to clients and they're like, well, I was upset and he didn't think I was upset and he didn't even notice. And he did this and he wouldn't hug me. And what I really wanted him to do was come over and do this or be that for me. And this is where you have to find that answer within yourself. There is no one in your life ever who's going to be able to give you and do everything you need. I don't know where we get this expectation from that these men are supposed to do that. I don't know if it's a self-sabotaging behavior we have, but I run into so many women who are just livid because the man is just supposed to do everything we need. And that is not how it works. It's not realistic. And it's probably why a lot of your, another person's relationships might not be working out.
Yep. I would totally agree with that. There's lots of other ways of getting our needs met, and we have to be able to find those avenues within ourselves and ways of fulfilling those needs without expecting. It's that expectation that we have on these men that they have to be all for us.
Yeah, they feel that pressure. They feel it when they're around us, and it feels awful. Have you ever been around someone like a coworker or even your mom or somebody, or and you can just feel their energy hovering over you? I can take all of about 20 seconds of something like that, and I have to get the heck out of there.
Yeah, it's like that expectation that you have to be this certain thing. Like, I kind of like a needy friend or something, Like I had that situation where this friend always had a certain day off. She thought that I had to basically entertain her or be her friend on that day because it was her day off. And I'm just like, okay, like this is too much, like heavy energy. Like I'm expected to perform and be this person for you on this day. And I think it's, like I said, it's just that expectation in her mind of who I needed to be in her life. And we do that to men a lot of times.
Oh, totally. That's so true. I think we've all had that needy friend that they email us and it takes us a few days to get back or text message and they go to pout city. They're pouting because we're just supposed to always be there for them. So that is not how it works. That's not how humans work. Humans flake out. They disappoint you. They forget. They get lazy. They do whatever they want to do. The biggest takeaway, people do exactly what they want to do. And if someone goes out of their way for you at any given time, be very grateful. Let them know how wonderful it feels because nobody owes you anything. Not your parents, not even your husband. No one owes you anything. No one owes you treating you wonderful, sweet, and nice. But if you get it, that's where we go into this, it's a little bit of animal training. If you get that wonderful behavior and you let a person know how amazing it feels, there's a good chance you're going to get more of it. Right?
Yeah. Recently I sang at a coffee shop with my sister just last week, actually. And I was going to have one of my male friends sing a song with me. And I told him last minute and he was like, I'll come if I can. I might have to work late. Well, anyway, he ended up showing up. I wasn't able to sing the song with me, but he did show up. And I texted him later and I said, thank you for coming. That really means a lot. That was really nice of you. And he was just like, are you serious? He's like, you don't remember our conversation? I told you that I was going to stop up. I said, yeah, but I said, I don't always listen to words. I said, I pay attention to actions. And I said, it just shows me that you know what I mean? Like it showed me a side of him that he really cares about me. The fact that he didn't just say he was going to show up, he actually did it.
Follow through.
Yeah, but on my end, like I didn't have this expectation like, oh, he's going to come, and then be disappointed that he didn't. I just knew that, if he comes, great. If he doesn't, that's great too.
Yeah, you picked up on the soft no. I can tell immediately. I asked my husband for something. He's like, well, and I'm like, Adrienne, just stop right there. That you're starting to get the soft no. And I actually I don't even try to invite him to do things with me. I tell him what I'm doing and I leave it as an invitation if he wants to come do it. If not, I go to the beach by myself. I go get food by myself. And a couple of times, I've been like, he's like, well, where are you going? I'm like, well, I said I wanted to go out the Green Valley Grill tonight. And boy, he's putting on his shoes so fast and brushing his hair and trying to get out the door with me. And I'm like, it's not my fault if you're not listening to me, But again, I think this keeps a guy on his toes. You're living your life.
It does. And I love that so much. I mean, just hearing your stories, it's just like, oh my gosh, like it's so great that you don't stop your life. When you want to do something and something feels good to you, you do it. You don't wait and see if he's going to be able to make it or not, or if he's going to be able, you do what feels good to you and you don't let anything else stop you. I mean, It's awesome.
That's right. You let the man say whatever and you go do whatever you want to do. That's right. I mean, you can tell him, you're like, well, okay, I'm going to go do this. All right. So just a couple more things here before we wrap it up. There's a moment where Christian is playing music at his piano. And I just want to tell everyone that music is very expressive for men. Rogue, you tell me if you agree with me, but if you're at a concert with a man, particularly if it's a concert he wants to see, and if you kind of dance with him and enjoy the concert with him, or even when they whistle or they sing, if you enjoy it and let them know, it's really this time to bond. Men really bond with music. So I want to share one more clip before we wrap it up where she's really having a conversation with him about why does he need to hurt her? Why does he need to do this? Now, I mentioned at the beginning of this, hurt people hurt people. And I get it. He's had some sort of past romance with someone where he's been a submissive and he got turned on to this at a very young age and it's ingrained in him. We get it. But it either works for you or it doesn't. she's discussing the contract with him because she still hasn't signed it. And she's saying, well, what if I do want to touch you? And what if I do want us to sleep in the same bed? And here is that conversation.
And what if I break then?
Then there'll be consequences.
Punishment.
Yes.
Why do you want to punish me?
Anna.
Why do you want to hurt me?
I would never do anything to you that you couldn't handle.
But why do you even want to do anything to me at all, Christian?
If I told you, you'd never look at me the same way again.
So there is a reason. Tell me. Do you want to punish me right now?
Yes. I want to punish you right now.
What if I told you that I feel the same way about being punished as you do about me touching you? Would you still want to punish me then?
No. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't need to.
Why?
Anna, stop.
Why do you need to?
Because it's the way I am.
This is one messed up dude. Say so.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, like I said, we said that from the beginning, but it's like he's got some issues. And I think the worst part the thing I don't like about the movie, there's a lot that I like about the movie, but there's the main thing about it is, I think, showing women or telling women that we can change a man that's this messed up. Because in the end, not in this one, but later on, there's a couple movies after, it's like we see that she was like able to like, quote, change him. And that's the part that I have a problem with, because, you really can't change anyone unless they see that within themselves, that they have a problem. They want to change that within themselves. And so, trying to change someone is like an impossible task, and he is very messed up. And sometimes when people are that messed up, they possibly don't change.
Yeah. And I tell everyone, I'm like, usually around the 5th date, you see what the problem's going to be in a relationship. You see the anger, you see something that they're doing, they're flaking out. The problem presents itself. So this is why I encourage everyone, before you commit to a man, date him for 3 months. Date him for 3 months. Is he only texting you? Does he not date you? Is he not taking you out? Does he only want to have sex with you and then leave right? You'll find out, you'll know. So hold out on that commitment and do not sign that contract until you guys can discuss it, negotiate it, and agree. So here it is, their final little scene together. And she basically tells Christian Grey, I'm not going to stop you. We're going to go into your red room, and whatever happens, happens. And I'm not going to stop, because I think she just really wanted to see, like, how bad is this, whatever this is with him. And he goes in there, and it was a really difficult scene to watch. I had to mute it. I couldn't listen to it. I couldn't watch it. It was so disturbing. Again, I don't know what anybody finds sexy about this movie. I mean, there's a couple of great things he says, but this guy was so covered in red flags, I wouldn't even have been able to see his face or his hot body coming at me. And so he really just takes it out on her. He doesn't stop. And at some point, he just can't do it anymore. I don't know if his arm's tired or whatever it is, or he reaches some point of mercy. But that's it. She tells him, that's it, that you're never going to do this to me again. And she gets up, goes to take the elevator down. He chases after her. Whenever a woman turns away from a man, the guy will chase after her in most cases. And she says, stop. No. She has that great boundary. She's not letting him back in. And you have to wonder, was he sad? Was he mad? She walked away, even said no to the contract. But in some cases, he let her touch him. In some cases, he let her have her way. It's a really confusing love story. I'm glad we got to talk about it, because it really talked about some things that are super important to me as a dating and relationship coach. And that is, of course, boundaries, knowing your boundaries, being able to speak them, knowing how you want your relationship to look, knowing what it will feel like. I talk to women, every week, who are totally gaga about a man who is just texting them. He's not even taking her out on dates.
Yeah.
And so I always get them to say, well, what does an ideal relationship look like to you? And we'll have just conversations that go like this. They'll go, well, yeah, I would like to go out on a date, twice a week, but he won't do that. He won't do that. Or, yeah, I would like to meet all his friends, but he's already told me he can't do that. And I'm like, what are you doing here? So boundaries, super important. And then also negotiating commitment. Don't go all in so quickly. So that's what I walked away with after watching 50 Shades of Grey, which should be 50 Shades of a Red Flag.
Yeah.
Should rename this. But what is your big takeaway from this?
I mean, I like what you say about the contract, because like putting that into real life dating situation, like giving it that amount of time to see the red flags, because I think women just jump in with both feet in the beginning. And then your heart is already like attached. You're already kind of attached to this person. And then you start disregarding these red flags because, by then you feel like you love this person, and you're overlooking these, yeah, they have some flaws, but for the most part, they're a great person. And because you've already invested so much time and energy and created this fantasy in your mind. And so, I mean, what you said about don't sign that contract until after 3 months, 6 months. And this obviously is a contract that you're not actually physically seeing, but like in your mind, some boundaries and things that you have to see put into place before you really invest your heart into this person.
I mean, you're taking your profile down. You're giving up all other men to be with this one man who could date you and start to flake out. And you're already like, he's the one, mom. And hey, girlfriends, I've met this guy. Don't do it. Keep your options open. You can be sexually exclusive to just one man. That's fine. But keep meeting other men. Keep your options open. The more you can raise your value, you move up those tiers. I talk about that in my programs. And you begin to learn how to practice and speak and be with men in a new way. So when your husband does come around, you don't have to practice on your husband. You've got everything all lined up.
Yeah. And for us as relationship coaches, I mean, it's easy for us to see the red flags, but for the average woman, I think it's not as easy to see them. And we get very confused by that behavior that we saw him, where he was coming close and wanting to lead and ask her out and sending her things and gifts. And, we're like, wow, he's really into me. He really likes me. That we're overlooking these red flags and these things that we're not actually getting from this man that we desperately want. Like, we want the commitment. We want the, the love and heart connection. And so I think just being able to point that out in this podcast is so crucial to some of the women out there that maybe don't see those things as clearly as we do.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's what it does with this. We take a movie that a lot of women like. We're probably ruining it for them. I'm probably ruining it for them. But you're learning about boundaries. You're learning about commitment. Really, now let's say you're already committed to a guy, and you're already committed, and you're already girlfriend, and it's been like 2 years, or a year and a half, and he hardly ever dates you anymore. He's not even coming around, and you're afraid to bring up marriage. Ladies, at any time, you can renegotiate that contract.
Take out your pencil and your paper. It's time for some scripting notes, so you'll say the perfect words to him in the most perfect way.
What you can say to a man at that point is, the last X amount of time, the last year with you, the last 6 months with you, whatever it's been, I've felt so comfortable and happy being with you. Yet I've noticed that we don't really go on dates anymore. Or yet I've noticed we don't seem to, whatever it is you're not getting in the relationship, we don't go on as many dates anymore. I'm not seeing you as much, or I feel like a disconnection's happening between us. You can say, I'm curious what you feel, and get the man to open up, and the man go, well, we're fine. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And you can say to him, well, I want to be a wife one day. I want to be married one day. And here's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling lonely. I'm feeling like we hardly ever go out, and I feel like I'm not so sure anymore. Sometimes that alone will get the guy to step up, but you always want to invite him to step up and say, what do you think we can do? You'll begin to see him and listen to him, but you will begin to see him begin to make some changes if he wants to keep you and improve in that relationship. If he doesn't, he'll do the same old thing. Now, again, notice you're not coming at him and you're blaming him and going, you didn't do this and you didn't do that and you don't take me out and you forgot my birthday. You're not saying that. You're just saying, look, I've noticed these things are happening and I feel lonely or I feel forgotten or I feel like we're not on the same page. And that's when, if you need to, I feel like we're not on the same page. You know, I love you and it feels amazing when we're together, yet I'm going to be moving on. I'm going to keep my options open. You tell the guy, he goes, what does that mean? You're going to keep your options open? Well, I want to start dating other guys. I want to be a wife, and we've been together a year and a half. You can also have the conversation of, you know, where do you see us going? A guy will go, well, you know, you're my girlfriend. You know, you're my girlfriend. And that's how women, they write me and say, I've been in a relationship for 5 years thinking I was going to get married. I'm now 37. I still haven't had children. And I hear about it. So when you do, if you do walk away, you want to say to the man, I don't feel like we're on the same page anymore, and I'm going to be moving on. I will miss you so much, but I'm going to be moving on. This is what I had to do with Jeff at some point because I was a Tuesday, Thursday girlfriend. And I told him I want to be a wife. He laughed at me. And I told him, I said, you know, I'm crazy about you. It feels amazing when I'm with you. And when I'm in your arms, I feel so warm and cared for, but I don't feel like we're on the same page. And he goes, well, I'd have to agree. And then I said, I'm going to be moving on. And I got in my car and I left. And he hugged me. I said, I'll miss you. He said, I'll miss you too. He looked a little pale. But as I drove away, I was just, you know, tears were rolling down my cheeks because I knew I had to do this. Even though I love this man, I want to be with him, I had to do this because I did want to be a wife. I did not want to be a girlfriend anymore. And it took a little while, you know, but he did come back around and he was ready to get married. And guys have to miss you. They have to feel like they're losing you. But ladies, don't do this thinking that this will happen to you because the guy might go, you know, you're right. I think we had run our course anyway. Do it because it's really your boundary. It's really what you feel and believe inside. So that wraps it up for me with 50 Shades of Grey. Rogue, any other words of wisdom or scripts that you want to leave our listeners with? Anything coming up for you?
Just with what you said, with what you were talking about with your husband having to miss you. There was a moment in my relationship where it got to that point as well. And I had been married for a long time, 14, 15 years. And, but not getting what I wanted out of my relationship. And I actually left. And it's for the first time in my life that I set boundaries, you know, for myself. And, so different situation, different scenario, but the same result, you know, where he showed me that he really did want me and that he was going to make the changes that he needed to change to respect me and love me in a whole new way. And so for any women that are married out there that think that, you know, it's too late, you've been in the same rut for so long and that you're not going to be able to get a man to treat you the way you need to be treated, things can turn around even in long-term relationships.
Mm-hmm. You got that right. Oh, that's beautiful. It really can, but it sometimes means walking away. It sometimes means going, I can't do this, and getting on that elevator and saying, stop. No, that does not mean keep on texting him every day, letting him have you in his life as his little text buddy. It means you draw a line in the sand. I'm over here. You're over there. All right. So ladies, check out my ebook. It's 500 Ways to Talk to a Man. I have so many scenarios in there about things that you can discuss, talk to your partner about, exact scripts, and you can kind of change them up a little bit. But I teach you how to cover the really hard topics in a relationship. So if you enjoyed the scripts in this podcast, check out my ebook if you don't already have it. And Rogue, anything you want to share with us? Anything juicy you got over at your website?
Yeah, if you go to roguerelationship.com, you can sign up for my free ebook, 6 Steps to Having Him Tear the World Apart to Get Close to You. So go ahead on over to my website and sign up for that.
Ooh, I'm going to go download that tonight. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And please leave your comments in the comments section. And if you have any other future show ideas or movie ideas that you think would be great, please share them with us and give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this podcast and want us to continue. And bye, everybody.
Bye.